When I heard this bottle was going to be released in 2023, it instantly became my highly anticipated bottle that I wanted to get my hands on to do a review. Is it going to live up to my expectations? Stick around and find out. Welcome to Whiskey's a Journey. My name is Peter Fasciano. Today, I've got a highly anticipated bottle for review. This is the Powers John's Lane 12-Year Cask Strength. Like always, we're gonna pour it, nose it, taste it, talk about it a little bit. And then if you stick around until the very end, I am going to give this thing a score. I have a friend that I used to work with at my middle school. She went to Ireland over the summer and she ended up picking this bottle up. So Hannah, thank you very much for grabbing this. My brother-in-law went to Dubai. He didn't get it. I also had another friend that I used to work with at my middle school. He went to Japan over the summer. He couldn't get it. When they all went traveling internationally, I gave them all requests. And when they were at the duty-free shops, I said, look for a couple of things. Hannah is the only one that came through. She's the only one that could actually find this one. So again, thank you very much, Hannah. I really appreciate it. So this is actually coming in at 57.8% ABV. It's aged for 12 years. It's a single pot still Irish whiskey, and it's matured, aged in a combination of bourbon and sherry Oloroso butts. It is non-chill filtered, and it is distilled at Middleton Distillery. And if I'm not mistaken, is it a 700 milliliter bottle? I actually never even looked. Yep, 700 milliliter bottle, and this, I do believe, is the 2024 release. As I'm sitting here letting this thing air out a little bit, I am getting wafts or tremendous amount of pear and pepper with a little bit of butter and vanilla cookie. Now let's get it up to my nose and actually see what else I can get out of it. Yeah, this is just straight up candied pears in a glass. When I had this the first time, I thought it came across as pretty hot, pretty intense spice. And as you can see, I'm a good couple of pours into this, and it has really opened up since the first time I had it. Other than the butter, vanilla cookie, pear, and sugar note, again, there's a little bit of spice. I would say pepper and pickled ginger. I think that single pot still spice comes through. I would say that it's pretty well balanced with the sweet and the spice. Not one thing is being more dominant over the other. And if you've ever had a really ripe pear, when you bite into it, there's really no grittiness to it. It's just very soft, very sweet, and very much like a stewed pear. And on the very back end, I really do think there is a slight sherry component to it. But like I had mentioned, it is faint and it's in the background. It just adds an extra level to the nose. I tell you what, so far, this is definitely living up to my anticipation. All right, but that's all on the nose. Let's go ahead and get on the palate and let you know what I think. Cheers, everybody. Wow, expectations met. This is definitely stewed pears, butter, pepper, ginger. A lot of that bourbon cask influence is pushing through with that vanilla cookie note, sherry on the very far back end, and there is a definite well-balanced amount of sweet and spice. A little bit of time, a little bit of air into this bottle has done wonders to it. Now I have to be careful not to overhype this just because there was such an anticipation to get this bottle, and then once I got my hands on it, I mean, I couldn't wait. I cracked it open as soon as I could. I went over to my sister's house and had it with her and John, my brother-in-law, and we all had the same conclusion. We thought that the normal 12-year lower proof 46% ABV was better, but then I had it again, and I had it one more time, and then now I've had it this time, and I think as this is opening up in the bottle, for me, it is surpassing the original 12-year-old 46% John's Lane 12-year. As it's sitting here on the finish, there is a little bit of an oak tannin, an oak presence, a little bit of drying, and I don't mind what it's offering. Again, I think it's just adding a little bit of extra depth to it. You get the sweet, you get the spice, you get the tannin, you get the dryness, but not overly dry. On the far back end, those sherry notes, it is just a very cohesive, well put together Irish single pot still whiskey. I like this quite a bit. Now, before this review, I had to look up what I gave the original one a score, and I think I put it at a 3.95. And I think it really does give Redbreast 12, their standard release, and a yellow spot a run for their money at a lower proof. But I'm telling you what, the cask strength version, the way it is right now, how it's opened up in the bottle, I think this is definitely going to surpass those. But that was my first sip. Let me go ahead and get a second sip in, concentrate on the finish, see if I can get you any other notes, and then we'll go ahead, add some water to it, and then talk a little bit about powers. So, second sip, everybody. All right, on that second sip, there's a little bit more of an oak presence. It's still hitting the front of the palate with a very nice sweet and spice component. The vanilla, the butter, the pear, and then again, as it travels back, that mid palate, that oak sinks in. And then on the finish, there is that pepper spice, that ginger spice, the buttery pear, vanilla cookie note just starts to escalate. I don't think the notes or the flavors change, they just escalate. Well, I guess that would be changing, but you're not getting anything different from the arrival to mid palate to finish. Those notes are consistent all the way through. They just ramp up in flavor. And Irish whiskey was one of those first types of whiskey that I got into that made me admire or appreciate whiskey in general. It was basically my first whiskey, I guess, obsession. Both John and I ended up really liking what Irish whiskey had to offer. It was light, it was crisp, it wasn't really in your face, it wasn't peated. It didn't have a little bit of a bite that some of the other whiskeys had. It was very easy to drink, and we fell in love with it right away. Now, let's go ahead and get a little bit of information about powers. Before I go on to that, I do need to say that this was $73, and again, I need to reiterate, I don't think this is offered in the United States. Hannah got this at the duty-free shop in Dublin, and I also believe they are selling it overseas, maybe not exclusively at duty-free shops, but I don't know. Please let me know in the comments down below if this is internationally available or if you can only get it at duty-free shops. So John's Lane 12-year powers. What is this all about? Well, John's Lane was established in 1791 by James Power in Dublin. There's a whole history of Irish whiskey. I have plenty of videos on that, so I'm not going to get into the height of Irish and the crash of it. If you're interested in that, you can go back and look at some of my other Irish whiskey videos, and I get into the history of that. Jump ahead until 1966. They were instrumental or helping Irish distillers get started. And then jump ahead until 1975. After it was established, they ended up moving to the Middleton Distillery. And by that time, most of the distilleries in Ireland have already been shut down. Once everything got ramped up again, we're looking at the first release of the Powers 12-year John's Lane being released in 2011. And then 12 years later, and I'm not exactly positive on this, so again, I need some help. Let me know in the comments down below. 12 years later, after the original release of the standard 12-year, this one was released, and I don't know if it was an anniversary bottle or not, but this was first released in 2023, and based on the code on the back, I do believe this is a 2024 bottling. If by chance you know any other information about this and you feel like you want to share it to the community, post it down in the comments down below. All right, I hope that was long enough for this to do its thing with the water, so let's get it on the nose, on the palate, and we'll give it a score. Yeah, a little bit of water, I think, goes a long way with opening up the nose. It was good before, but now there is, I don't know if smoothness could actually come across on the nose, but it definitely rounded out all of those notes. It's coming across as more creamy. Those pears are now really soaked in some pretty good quality butter. Get a little bit of cinnamon on there. That sherry note is now definitely coming through. Good amounts of spice, but it's toned down a little bit, and there is definitely a little bit more oak now coming through on the nose. With the small amount of water that I added, I want to say that this definitely did open up to be slightly better, more of a vanilla cream soda on top of all of those other notes. Smells absolutely fantastic. So let's go ahead and get it on the palate and see if anything has changed. Oh yeah, with a little bit of water, everything comes together a little bit more. I still get those ramped up notes as it goes from the arrival to mid palate to finish, but now everything seems to play a little bit more nice together. There's more of a well-balanced blend. Not that it wasn't balanced before, but now it just has more of a creamy effect, and everything combines to just have a very nice, pleasant, consistent flavor all the way through. The vanilla cookie, the sugary pear, the buttery pear, oaky, sherry, spicy, well-balanced. Man, this is really good. And I've got to say, this is definitely now living up to my anticipation now that it's opened up. And I've got an idea of where it's going to be sitting with the water. So I can drink this with and without water, but I do think that the addition of a slight amount of water, this does better for me, not directly at cask strength. So based on everything with and without water and the price, I'm going to say this is a really good overall experience, and I'm going to put this at a 4.25. I really like everything about this. If you ever have a chance to get your hands on one of these or taste it, I highly suggest you do it. I don't think that you would be disappointed. If you are watching this and you have had this, please let me know what you think of it in the comments down below. And before I go, I want to let everybody know I do have an August giveaway happening. I know my first Friday video, I went into a little bit of a description. The cost of those little bottles have gone up along with the cost of shipping. Now that I'm throwing in a bottle, shipping costs have increased. My threshold to have 2 winners of the giveaway each month was at $200. I have to up that threshold. So if the channel generates $250 or more, I will start again selecting 2 winners for the monthly giveaway. If you are interested in winning the powers, why not give it a chance? There's a little heart with a $sign in it underneath the video. Click on that. Any increment of $5 will get you an entry into the giveaway. $5 gets you 1, $10 gets you 2, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, this is United States only. I can't ship anything overseas, so I apologize about that. And my first Friday flight fight was a WhiskeyTube Sample Swap. I still have a little bit of those samples left over, but typically I will throw in my first Friday flight fight automatically into the giveaway. This month, you can choose 12 2-ounce samples of anything that I reviewed in the month of August. And if you're interested in any of those samples from the first Friday, feel free to ask. If I still have some of those samples, it's not going to be 2 ounces. It might not be 1 ounce, but there'll be some left over. I can throw those into the giveaway as well. And like I had mentioned, I also throw in an extra bottle. I have a whole bunch of bottles in my collection that are repeats that I've already reviewed that I'm not going to be drinking any longer. I have a lot of the barrel proof Elijah Craig's, a lot of the barrel proof Larcenies. I have some Bookers, some barrel bourbons. I also have some Penelopes. And I mean, every month that I go through this, I add more and more bottles to my collection, and I need to get rid of them. So if you are a winner, not only do you get 12 2-ounce samples of something, I also throw in an extra bottle. We can be in communication once the winner is chosen, and we can figure out which bottle you want. All right, I have to get one more sip in here, see if anything changed now that it's opened up a little bit more, now that the water has been sitting in there, and then we'll go ahead and call this video good. So third sip, second sip with the water. Here we go. Yeah, I must say, with the water, it opens up quite a bit. And before I go, one more time, Hannah, thank you very much for getting your hands on this bottle. Without you, I would have never been able to get this. And it's a shame that you're not a whiskey drinker, because this is a good one. All right, that's all I got for you. So wherever you are at in your journey, I hope you're enjoying it, and we'll talk to everybody later. Bye. Very rarely do I ever finish a pour on camera. This is delicious.